D-Day was the largest seaborne invasion in world history, and was a pivotal moment in World War II. On the morning of June 6, 1944, nearly 160,000 Allied soldiers crossed the English Channel and stormed 5 beaches along a 50-mile stretch of Normandy, France. The United States led the assault to try to retake the western coast of Europe from the Germans, who had conquered and been occupying it for 4 years. In the months and weeks leading up to the invasion, the Allies used a variety of means to deceive the Germans, who knew an attack was coming but didn't know where it would focus. After postponing the invasion by a day because of bad weather, the Supreme Commander of the Allied forces, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower, gave the go-ahead for the operation, codenamed Neptune. Shortly after midnight, 24,000 British, US, and Canadian airborne troops parachuted into France. Around the same time, minesweepers began clearing channels for the invasion fleet, which was comprised of almost 7,000 boats of all types, although around 4,100 of these were landing crafts carrying infantrymen. The Germans, by contrast, had just over 100 total ships in the area at the time and were heavily outnumbered. The same was true for the German Air Force, which could muster only 815 aircraft over Normandy in comparison to the Allies' 9,500. Naval bombardment of the beaches commenced at 5:45 a.m. while it was still dark. Allied infantry and armored divisions began landing on the coast of France, starting at 06:30. The men landed under heavy fire from gun encampments overlooking the beaches. The shore was mined and covered with wooden stakes, metal tripods, and barbed wire obstacles, making the work of the beach clearing teams difficult and dangerous. Casualties were heaviest at Omaha with its high cliffs. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, several towns were cleared in house-to-house fighting. The Allies did not achieve all of their goals on D-Day. Only Juno and Gold Beach were linked in the first 24 hours, and all 5 bridgeheads were not connected until nearly a week had passed. However, the operation was successful, as the Allies gained a precious foothold that gradually expanded as they drove into Germany from the west over the coming months. German casualties on D-Day were around 1,000 men. Allied casualties were at least 12,000, with 4,414 confirmed dead. With Russia bearing down from the east, the European side of World War II ended with the surrender of Germany less than a year after the Normandy operation. Once Japan surrendered in September 1945, the deadliest conflict in human history was over. It had taken the lives of anywhere from 50 to 85 million people. The outcome of the war has been critical in shaping the geopolitical landscape of the last 70 years. The victorious great powers, the United States, China, the United Kingdom, France, and what is now the Russian Federation, became the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. Thanks for watching this historic episode.
This is Omaha Beach in Normandy, France. More than 2,000 Americans died on the shores of Normandy on June 6, 1944, known to all as D-Day. On a cliff high above it rests the Normandy American Cemetery, one of the world's best-known military cemeteries. Buried on these hallowed grounds are the remains of nearly 9,400 servicemen and women who died on and around Omaha and Utah beaches, and in the struggle that followed to break out from the beachhead. Every year, millions of visitors pay their respects and learn more about history. Brigadier General Theodore Roosevelt Jr. is one of 3 Medal of Honor recipients buried here.
We're here on Omaha Beach at the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial. It is the most visited of the overseas American cemeteries. As you come into the cemetery, the first thing you'll see is, in fact, the visitor center, which was opened in 2007 in order to give the visitor a better context of what happened here in Normandy, the Battle of Normandy, not just the D-Day landings, but the whole battle. We encourage people, if they have time in their schedule, is to visit the visitor center first to get a better context, and then visit the cemetery just after. General John Blackjack Pershing was the founder of the American Battle Monuments Commission. He demanded that there be some place set aside at each of the American cemeteries specifically for the family who would come here to pay their respects to their fallen loved ones, but he was very careful to note that each chapel needed to be non-denominational and non-confessional. There's a beautiful mosaic in the ceiling as well that tells the story of those soldiers going off to war, and the Marianne, one of the symbols of France here, comforting the dying soldier, and then you'll see the circular story there. The bronze statue that you'll see there at the Memorial Building is called the Spirit of American Youth Rising from the Waves. The reason why Donald Delu, the sculptor, gave it that name was, in fact, for the youth that lost their lives and still remain here in Normandy. Our research suggests that the average age of those buried here at the cemetery are between 22 and 23 years old. That's the average age.
I came to France in 1970. My dad was a GI. He came to Normandy on June 6, 1944, in the first wave. And every year when he would come to visit us in France, I would say, "Dad, would you like to come to see the Normandy beaches?" And he said, "No, I can't go back there. Too many bad memories. Too many guys died." But then when my oldest son was 7, we decided that this was the year he was ready to make the trip. So we came to Normandy in 1980. And as we were approaching Normandy, to make the war something that his grandchildren could understand, Dad was telling us little anecdotes about his experience in the war. The day he arrived on D-Day, he managed to crawl up that beach, and they made it into a barn. On the one hand, we have the Germans shelling the American ships. On the other, you have the American ships trying to shell the Atlantic Wall. And Dad's in this barn, and there's a little roof beam. There was an owl over the roof beam, an owl, and the owl saying, "Woo, woo." And Dad looked up and he said, "Hey buddy, you think you're scared, what about us?"
The Normandy American Cemetery is the final resting place of over 9,387 young men and women. But that doesn't tell the whole story, in fact. We have what is called the Garden of the Missing, which is just behind the Memorial Building and the bronze statue. Here are inscribed the names of 1,557 of those missing in action from the Normandy campaign. There's a lot of numbers when you talk about what happened here at Normandy, but what it doesn't say is each one of the headstones you'll see here at the cemetery, and each one of the names on the wall behind me, it tells a story. They come from all over the world. Many were first generation immigrants, many second or third generation, and yet here they came fighting under the American flag here in Normandy to liberate France.
This sand came from Omaha Beach, bloody Omaha, as you probably know. And in fact, each soldiers, when the family came here, we have to do the sand to pay the tribute for the soldiers who gave his life in Normandy. And he came from, as you know, the United States, far away from here. That's why. the American flags into the sea, because this is where they came on the 6th June 1944, and the French flags near the land, the French land. These flags, the American and the French one, are your flags, so please, if you want to take the flags after this short ceremony, please feel free, okay? What I want to do now is just conclude this short ceremony with you. I will leave you here if you wish, or if you want I can take you back to the visitor center. It's up to you, as you want. If you want to pray or stay alone here, I will let you here alone. The only thing that I want to say is thank you to William W. Carter, because as I said before, if I'm free today, I'm young, I'm 26 years old, and if I'm free, this is thanks to William W. Carter. And as I always said, in the name of the ABMC, in my own name, I want to thank you for your presence here today. Why? Because it's really important for us to have some family who can take a plane and come here to pay the tribute for a member of the family. I'm proud to work for the ABMC. I'm proud to work for the United States for this reason, because you know it's so beautiful to have some family who came here. You'll have to know that we've got today two families each, about two families each day because of the 70th anniversary. But for example, in 1 year, I'm sure that we will still have about four families each week. I was proud to be with you today, and I wish you a good visit in Normandy. Thank you for your coming here.